Hello and welcome back to another episode of Have Game Will Travel. I'm your host, Bennett Newsome. I'm the Director of Esports Growth and Development here at Full Sail University. But most of you probably know me as Dammit Bennett out there on the internet. If it's the first time that you're joining us, welcome. And if you've watched the show before, we're happy to have you back. Have Game Will Travel is an interview style show that focuses on how there's so much more to esports gaming and streaming than just being good at the game. So we're going to take a journey through our guests' kind of life in the industry. Go through all of the things that they're doing. And if you have questions, feel free to type them into the chat. We'll pull them up on the screen. But Have Game Will Travel starts right now. Janessa, how are you today?
Hello, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, welcome to the show. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and all of that?
Sure. My name is Janessa Christine. My handle is Pods of War, and I've been a lifelong gamer. Currently, I run a talent management and agency company called Fenix Down, and I've also dabbled in streaming and hosting for GameStop primarily, but also any other gaming company that wants to hire me. And I'm just kind of like a Jane of all trades.
Yes.
I've done a lot of things all across the board, really interested in marketing, media, streaming, video games, pop culture. And I also play D&D, which has been really fun.
I love that D&T has just got, like, it reemerged, especially on Twitch. I feel like it was kind of in the shadows for a long time, but lately, it's just really kind of everywhere you look, which is great.
It really did, and I'm so thankful for it because it's not only a way to connect with other people, but you're being creative and imaginative, and you're also performing. I used to do musical theater a lot, so it just is a mesh of everything I love.
I like it. What do you think attributed to that? Was it just Twitch, or was it like someone said that, oh, it's because of Stranger Things, like, and that focus on D&D and Stranger Things? Do you think there's a correlation there?
No, I definitely don't think it was because of Stranger Things.
I love it.
I wish I could say that, but I actually saw a TikTok the other day of it was the cast of the D&D movie, like asking, like, "Oh, is Stranger Things about D&D?" All of these people in the comments did not realize the D&D Stranger Things correlation,
right?
Which was like, how did that go over your head? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I definitely think there's something to it.
Yeah.
Like maybe some people were like, "Oh, okay, like this wasn't the." I also have a religious background, so like this wasn't like the demonic game that my parents thought it was in the 80s. Yeah, so there's definitely something, but I just think it's a really great game. And it can be played a multitude of ways, and especially during the pandemic when people needed to connect with one another, I think that's what really did it.
That I didn't even think about that, and how people were just getting together virtually to do that, which probably definitely helped elevate it to where it is now. Well, great. So how did you get into gaming?
It's an interesting story because I didn't have a gaming console. I am like a first generation nerd in my family. So there's a lot of people out there like, "Oh yeah, I played D&D with my dad growing up." Like my family was not about it. But my grandma had a Super Nintendo. And I lived far away from my grandma. She lived in Santa Barbara, so it was about like a 4-hour drive.
Okay.
So I didn't get to see her often, but every time I did, I would just like lock myself up in that room where the Super Nintendo was, and I would play it. And that was like my start. And I remember like she had the little journal because you had to write like the little save codes. You couldn't save.
Yep.
So you had to do like little codes. One of my favorite games there was Toddlers, which is this like puzzle block game. And it's actually a co-op game too, or I guess it's kind of competitive, but it can be 2 players. And so that was my favorite game.
Okay.
I didn't get my own console. My parents tried to get me a NES, but we returned it to get bikes.
Okay. It's a different route, I guess, but
Yeah, so like could have gone there. But my first real console was the PS1, which I played like casually. And then I wouldn't like consider myself like a really hardcore gamer until Halo came out on the Xbox, and that's when I kind of like no-lifed
yes.
that, because there was multiplayer, and so all of a sudden it wasn't just playing games, it was playing games with other people, which I'm really passionate about.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. I mean, I think a lot of those games where you're just only playing, people are watching, maybe you're trading the controller back and forth, but once it went split screen, then that was kind of a big deal.
Yeah,
you got to play with your friends. Wild. Would you say that the game you mentioned, was that the first game you ever loved, or was there another game that you just truly, this is my favorite game?
Toddlers it's still very close to my heart. Halo Reach is the one that like still gives me the feels.
Yeah.
I just spent so much time there with like my friends. I had like a friend group there. Remember like Thanksgiving? It was like, we have to spend Thanksgiving together.
Yep.
That is definitely one of my favorite games.
Would you say
ever since then I kind of just I play a lot of single player now.
Okay, yeah. You're more interested in like the story aspects of the game than anything else, or is it just that's just kind of what you have been playing?
So there was definitely a transition. From Halo, I like stuck in sort of the FPS genre. So when I became streaming, I was playing a lot of Destiny.
Yeah.
I switched over to Fortnite, but I was still like in that FPS zone. It wasn't until right when Destiny 2 came out, I started branching out, and I, of course, always loved platformers, right. But I really found that I loved strategy. So I would play a lot of puzzles, a lot of roguelikes. I got into Magic the Gathering.
Okay, yeah.
And so now like I'm more into these like intellectually stimulating things. But I will say that I've never once in all of my gaming history, I've never once mentioned love for like a story-based game.
Okay.
Like a third-person cinematic experience. Like I don't have the attention span. I can't like stay tuned to a story. I can't like get connected and get involved. So like roguelikes and strategy, you just get to the point right away. You don't have to like watch a cinematic.
That was me on Uncharted. Like I would sell my PlayStation, then they'd come out with a new one. I'd be like, gotta go get another PlayStation now so I can play the new one.
Yeah. I tried to play Uncharted, but I didn't like the like over the shoulder cam. Or no, that was like a third person.
Yeah, it's third person, but they had those like cinematic scenes where you'd have to like jump and then like hit X to like do the thing, or you just fall to your death.
That's the skill checks.
Yep.
I liked the movie. I watched the Uncharted movie. It's not bad.
It's not. If
you don't take it too seriously.
Right. Yes. Good. It was fun. We enjoyed. We had a good time watching it, and that's where we'll keep it. Right?
Oh, I was. Am I allowed to curse on this show? I don't know.
It's up to you, I guess.
Okay. I was talking shit about the movie the whole time, and then at the end, I was like, "That was a good movie."
Yeah, I think it's a fun movie.
Yeah.
I was really hoping, because Nathan Fillion did like a fan made like short of Uncharted, and it was so good. And I understand that he's getting older, and they wanted to do like a younger version of Nathan Drake, but. It like seeing that short. If you haven't watched it, you can, Google it find it on YouTube. It's really good. But that aside, it was still a fun time, right?
You wanted Nathan Fillion.
Would have been great. I did like that they did a cameo with the voice actor who does the voice in the game, and he's also Ghost in Destiny. And I'm totally blanking on his name right now, and I feel bad. But
I can't help you there.
I'm gonna remember it at some point during the show, and I'm just gonna shout it out. But
Yeah, just blurt it.
well, getting back to the show, was gaming always kind of like your passion, or was it like your first passion, or was there other things that you had done that really kind of was your driving force?
I've always been one to have multiple passions, so finding a home has always been difficult. Growing up, I also really loved musical theater, so I was in every single theater program that I could be a
Yep.
part of. So when I got older and once I found out about Twitch and streaming, it felt like this intersection of performing and video games that I had no clue existed.
Yep. And it was Nolan North. Thank you, chat.
Oh, I knew that.
I feel like I failed Destiny here.
You did. I bet you it was because you liked Dinklebot.
I did. I really did. I was
No,
kind of
Nolan was
sad.
better.
I was sad. The nostalgia was there, though.
But I wasn't a D1 player.
Okay.
No, so I'm sorry. I wasn't. I started playing D1 at the Taken King, which is when they switched the voice.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't have the nostalgia of Dinklebot.
Yeah. I feel bad because Peter Dinklage was great in it, and it really gave it that kind of like robotic like vibe. I really wish they would have just created some piece of like dialogue that was like, oh, I just got an upgrade and now I sound like this, like versus completely removing him from the game, because there's no knowledge of it if you never played the game prior to Taken King. They just redid all of the lines, which is kind of a bummer, but
yeah,
you know,
that's true. Some in-game lore as to why.
Yeah, that would have been nice, but it is. I guess it is what it is at this point, right? Oh, well, cool.
Someone has to do like a documentary on like when they changed voices of things, because like they also changed like the TikTok captions voice lady.
I feel like it's always going to boil down to some sort of legal thing, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, you received a degree from UC San Diego in communications with minors in both English and theater.
Mm-hmm.
What was there any link kind of what you had learned to what you're doing now?
Oh, there's a huge link. Definitely because of the marketing that I studied at UCSD, I'm able to see the world and social media in like a completely different lens that really helps out when I'm working with creators.
Yeah.
So for Fenix Down, we work with the creators. Specifically, the creators are our clients versus other companies. The brands are probably their clients. But there's a big disconnect when it comes to creators understanding the marketing world. Marketing people love to throw out a bunch of words and make words for things that don't make any sense to like the average day person.
Right.
So you definitely need somebody to translate. So because of my degree and my experience there, I'm able to see like, okay, this is what the brand wants to do, and how can I explain this to the creator so that way we have a successful partnership where everybody's on board and understands everything.
Yeah, I like that. And I feel like you've been part of this for a long time because kind of in the beginning, you were part of the freshman 15 college correspondent for 17 magazine during college. Is that right?
Yeah.
tell us a little bit of that.
I'm so glad you brought this up because this is something I've never talked about before.
All right. Exclusive.
Yeah. It's a Full Sail Armada exclusive.
Yes.
And props to you for doing your research and finding this out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when I was going to college, I applied to be a part of the 17 Magazine's Freshman 15. And so that is a year-long partnership where they take 15 young women who are going to college and they follow them that year. And they highlight them in the magazine every month as well as the website. And so in case anybody doesn't know, 17 Magazine is a magazine for teen girls. And and it covers everything from like pop culture to like life advice as
Mm-hmm.
well as college. So it was just like a simple application that I filled out online. And then I got to the next round, which was filming a video. And so I had to film a video on who I was, and don't go looking for it, but it's
I want to find this.
still
This would
out
be great.
there. I filmed it on the top of my roof.
Okay.
I was like, you know what? Like, I don't know why, but I would like climb up to my roof and feel like I was like different than everybody.
Yeah. On top of the
And so I was,
world.
yeah, I'm gonna film it on my roof, and that's gonna make me stand out. And I guess it did. And there was an interview, and then yeah, I worked with 17 for that year. I wrote blog posts, and I wasn't in the magazine every month, but
Right.
I do believe I was in print for 3 months. And that was a dream come true because I
Yeah.
was like, I was also big in Newsies. Have
Okay.
you ever watched the movie Newsies or the show Newsies?
I know the name. I'm having trouble placing it, but
Okay, so you need to watch it because it's Christian Bale,
okay.
and he is in this musical. But it's about a bunch of newsboys who revolt against Pulitzer and Hearst. And so in middle school, I was like obsessed with Newsies. And then here I am working for 17 magazine, which is
Right.
owned by Hearst.
Okay.
So I was like, this is my dream come true. Like, I don't know.
You felt like you
It's
were a
just
part of
very,
it now.
yeah, it was very nerdy.
Well,
Like
you went,
in middle school, I loved Lord of the Rings, Pirates of the Caribbean, and Newsies. Those are my three things.
those are the three. Okay, cool. Well,
Yeah.
I feel like the newsy kind of thing kind of carried over because in 2012 you not only had I got ahead of myself. You had, after college you did some internships, right? And you went
Yes.
to NBC San Diego on the assignment desk. What was it? What was it like now actually working in the newsroom?
It was awful.
Okay, I didn't expect that.
It was terrible. The whole my degrees, marketing, writing, and theater, UCSD did not have a journalism degree. So that was sort of like I was trying to mix all of those things so that way I could go be a news reporter,
Right.
or I really wanted to be an anchor. But when I got to NBC, which is my first internship in my senior year of college, like if you guys are in college, try to do an internship before your senior year so that way you can
There you go.
pivot if you don't like it.
Yeah.
I hated it. And part of it was like the culture and like
Yeah.
just that specific news, like local news group. But what I didn't like about it was you would show up early in the morning, and then you would pitch your stories, and they would be like, okay, we're going to talk about the rain. And today we're going to talk about how the rain is so good for the environment. And all of the grass is growing and it's awesome. And then we would come back the next day and they'd be like, it's still raining.
Yeah.
Today we're going to talk about the rain and how bad it is for traffic and how there's a bunch of car crashes and everybody's dying.
Yep.
So go find evidence for that. And I'm like, why? Like, I didn't like that it was just like a producer in the room just deciding what the narrative was going to be.
Yeah.
And everybody else had other ideas. Like there was a couple times where I expressed ideas and they just weren't listened to. And so I didn't love, it was like this high pressure situation where everything was like scripted and last minute and intense. And I didn't like that aspect of it, but where I was working was the assignment desk.
Okay.
Which is a desk with a bunch of police radio scanners. So you have them all tuned to like San Diego police or like the fireplace or
Right.
whatever, and they're blaring at you the whole time, and you're trying to like eavesdrop on the cops and say like, where okay, you heard gunshots on this avenue, we're gonna go send people out there. And also the guy that worked there was just very mean.
Okay.
He would just yell at everybody and like curse everyone out, and like it was not a good experience. And I was like, I never want to be a reporter ever again.
Well, I think that's, it was good that it was an internship first, and you were
Yes.
able to go, oh, this is not what I thought it was.
This is not for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I am very glad that I did that in the internship, but of course it was already too late for me to change all of my majors and
Yeah.
minors and everything. But at least I knew that like I didn't want to work for a news station anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like that's a good transition to kind of what you started to do, because obviously you had an opportunity to work with G4 as a production assistant during Comic-Con San Diego. And was that in the same kind of timeline as the news thing, or was that after you kind of transitioned out of that?
It was a little bit after, I believe. Because I had just graduated college.
Okay.
And it was very random. I'm always one to say that Twitter is such a powerful tool for connections.
Yeah.
And of course, I grew up watching G4 TV. Like after school, I would come home and watch it. Somehow, I interacted enough with an executive producer for XPlay that he followed me back. So I was able to message him, which is very weird. And I messaged him and I was just like, hey, I'm in San Diego. If you ever need help, I know your studio's in LA. Like, I would love to intern for you guys. And he was like, okay, let's send this person an email.
Yeah.
And so I emailed them and showed up and like did an interview. I still have it somewhere. I should have got it, but I still have like my little access badge that says like NBC. Because at the time G4 was owned by NBC Universal. And became an intern for just a little while. And I was like, I did not live in LA, so I would drive up to LA to like interview or to intern. And I got to be like standing there like as Morgan Webb and them were like, I think it was Olivia Munn because she was the one that was on XPlay. So I got to be like in the room for a couple of episodes. And I remember it was like a Ubisoft E3 thing. They sent me a video file and I had to transcribe it for subtitles like manually because it wasn't automated back then. Like that's the type of thing I was doing. And it was all very random. And then the whole time I was telling them like, you guys, I graduated. I'm pretty sure in California there's legislation that says like if I'm going to be an unpaid intern, I need to be getting school credit. And everyone was like, yeah, don't worry about that. So like it was about like a month, and then someone from HR was like, okay, she's not supposed to be here. Like she can't get school credit for this. She can't be an intern. And G4 was like, well, no one's going to complain if you're around. So they let me stay around for a little bit. But then unfortunately G4 shut down. So that was the end of G4 as we knew it then, but it's back now.
But it's back. Absolutely.
I haven't worked on my pitch yet to go back, but I know it could be a possibility.
This is the pitch. All right, here we go. No,
hey, I've been here before. You don't know me though.
Well, you kind of had a crossover between.
Sorry, Fearless is saying that I was right initially. Morgan Webb was XPlay, so that's the one that I saw.
Okay, cool. Yeah, gotta make sure that we're accurate, right? You've had a crossover though between behind the scenes and then also being a performer. So you had a minor in theater, and then you had a few areas in your career, like SeaWorld, being a performer. You founded a co-ed dance team. Like, tell us about this kind of performance experience.
In SeaWorld, I was a part of a new show called Madagascar Live. And so that was like a theater experience. They were looking for singers, dancers, and costume characters.
Okay.
And I auditioned and I really thought I was going to be cast as a dancer, and I did not. I was cast as Kowalski the penguin. And so I was in this huge penguin suit dancing around, which is not as glamorous as being like an actual dancer on the show.
Right.
But it was so fun. It was like I worked at SeaWorld. We would do about 3 to 6 shows a day. And so I was a theme park performer, and I met a ton of friends there, just a ton of talented people that I'm still in touch with.
So,
And I still go see their shows. I met a bunch of people that were in the band. Also, my cousin was randomly in the band.
okay.
We did not know that we were both auditioning for this show, but I was like, "Oh yeah, you're my cousin." I have a lot of cousins, so it's not really that. I have 35
Wow.
first cousins. If you extend to second cousins, I'm like within like the 70 range.
Holy cow.
Yeah. My
That's a
dad
huge
was
family.
one of 7.
Wow.
So it's crazy.
Yeah.
And then what was the other thing? Oh, the dance team was something for church. They
Okay.
like realized I had all this like dancing and singing experience. And they just put me in charge of like a little kid's dance team. And I was like, sure, I'll
Yeah.
teach him how to dance. When I grew up in church, like we were not allowed to dance. Like it was a very strict, you can't wear makeup,
Yeah.
you can't watch movies. Like it was crazy. So that was my kind of like, heck yeah, I'm gonna let
Yeah. I'm
them
gonna dance.
dance. Yeah. Yeah.
I like it. We got a question from the chat. If you guys have questions,
Okay.
be sure to type them in chat. We'll pull them up. Jacob is Nachos asks, how important is networking in a career like yours?
It is both important and not important.
Okay.
The reason why I say it like that is because when I first started and during all of this time that I'm talking about myself and my history, I was very introverted and very scared at talking to people. So I could never go up to somebody in a room and
Right.
say like, "Hi, I'm Janessa. Who are you?" No. Even to this day, that is still very scary to me. So the way that I navigated a lot of that was utilizing social media. And like I said, reaching out on Twitter, DM. If I work with anyone via email, I immediately go to LinkedIn and I add them. So that way there's that line of communication that I can reach out to at any time. So my method of meeting people is getting to know them online first, so that way they know who I am, and then once I'm in real life, then I don't have to do that whole like introducing myself.
First introduction. And that's actually really, powerful information for a lot of people, because I feel like more people now, especially after the last couple of years, are in that boat where they are very nervous to go out and just introduce themselves in front of people. And so, kind of starting in the online world and doing that can really probably help out a lot. So that's great advice.
Yeah, you have to find your own personal style and what you're comfortable with.
Right.
I also know that I probably could be a lot further on in my career if I had done that. But I also find that sometimes like when I've done that, I found things that weren't right for me.
Yeah.
So my style personally is I'm just going to do really good work. I'm going to work very hard. I'm going to take care of the relationships that I know, and all of the other things will come to me, and then I'll be like available to receive them when it happens.
Yeah. And that's good. And you kind of transitioned into this from a career standpoint as well, because you worked in the social media industry as a social media manager and a marketing assistant with a couple different companies. Obviously, a lot of those things that you probably learned in those roles and in that industry carried over to not only what you're doing now, but also kind of building your career and your network, right?
Yeah, from school to working as a social media manager for, I believe it was Laser Journey was one place. I've just always been very able to look at things and figure out how they work. So like I knew all of the aspect ratios that you would send, an Instagram post for,
Right.
or like what's the difference between a Twitter post and a Facebook post. I don't think that matters as much anymore. because people like the platforms has made considerations for that.
Yeah.
But back in the day, everything was different platforms, and there was things you could do on one versus the other.
Right.
And so just learning all of those specialties was really valuable to people. I also like made a blog and would explain some of these things to like other streamers, and people found a lot of value. Like one of the articles I made was explaining like how to embed your Twitch stream onto a Twitter post. And that's how I met so many people, because I wrote down all of the instructions, and then at the end it said like, hey, if you are lazy and you don't want to do this, I'll do it for you. Fill out this form. So it was a really easy way for me to like provide some free value.
Yep.
I did this for them, and then all of a sudden I was connected to a bunch of people who like really loved me because I had just like given them half an hour to an hour of my time. So I guess that goes back to the networking question. My favorite way to network is by doing something for someone else, providing value and being helpful, and that gets you in the door without being like, so it's not focused on like, what can you do for me? It's like, what can I do for you?
Yeah. And I'll be honest, that is 100% how I met you. And I just looked,
really?
and I still have it bookmarked, and it's embed your live stream on Twitter.
That's amazing, because I know we've been friends for a long time. That's it.
It's it.
I need to like do another one.
Yeah, but I love that about you and your streaming, and you did that. You really approached it from a kind of a standpoint of like, let me help you. Like, here's information. I want to give you this information. I don't want anything in return. I'll even help do it for you if you want, and that was such a cool approach to building community and building, your channel. And obviously you started streaming like 2016-ish. Is that sound about right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, technically I did have a like secret channel in 2015.
Okay.
But I don't even have a recollection of that. Like, but yeah, 2016 was like my Pods of War. I'm going to take it seriously. Yeah.
You started doing your own thing. Now we talked earlier about D&D. You also have a show that you're on. Talk to us a little bit about the show and your character and what you do.
Yeah, so if everyone could do me a favor and go follow twitch.tv/casters and castles. They are the ones who taught me how to play D&D, and it has been amazing. I started playing in quarantine. The person who owns the channel, Tormented by Gnomes, he actually like started working with me. I hired him at a company, and then the company went under within like 3 weeks. But within that time, he was able to put together a D&D campaign, and he asked me like, do you want to play? And so I said yes, but I don't have time to create my character. Like, I don't really know how to play. And he's like, it's super easy. What do you want? I'll make your character for you. So I sent him an emoji, and it was like the little like smiling evil imp. And he made my character for me, like just based off of that emoji. That's not the character that I'm using now, but the reason why I say that story is because they made it so easy to lower the barrier to entry. I was able to just jump in a campaign and like roll things, click things, but because of my acting experience, I realized that I was actually pretty good at it because I could improv and I could read what the other people were doing and play off of them. And so when you're playing D&D as entertainment for streaming, a lot of it is based on that. Like, how can we tell a story that is exciting for people to watch, not just only exciting to play? So the character and the campaign that I'm in now is called Coriander Society, and I play Asena, and she is a badass pugilist, which is sort of based off of a monk. So she, uses her fists, she punches things, she can also like stop bullets in the air. And she was one of those stories where like they have amnesia. So she was raised by wolves and wasn't sure like where her family was from or what happened to her. And so a big arc that we are just now figuring out is where she came from and what it means. And she also has this mysterious dragon soul heritage. And so, spoiler
Uh-oh.
alert, I don't feel bad spoiling it for the chat that are like people that haven't watched, because there's already been like 60 episodes. I
Okay.
highly doubt you're gonna go
Yes.
back. Like, just get caught, like just start from here. I died as a child and inhabited a dragon like soul spirit
Okay.
that can like travel the astral planes, an astral dragon called Gotharius. And yeah, that's where I'm at now. I'm trying to find like my true dragon powers, and it's really fun.
That's awesome. When does this air? How what's kind of the schedule that you guys have?
Every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific.
Perfect.
At twitch.tv/casters and castles.
Perfect. Make sure you guys go follow that. Obviously, moving forward into your career, kind of more up to date now. In 2018, you started working as an account manager for the OP group, online performer group. Tell us a little bit about the company and what you did there.
Online Performers Group was a management company, and they worked with a bunch of streamers like Co-Carnage and Sacriel and just like a lot of big names in the industry. It's somewhat similar to what I do now, but we were really like a resource to handle streamers' business work. So like all of their emails and stuff like that. That was my first official full-time gaming industry job. It was still very much on like the marketing admin side, but it was really great experience, and I got to meet a lot of people because of that. I was there for about 2 years, and then I became like a senior account manager, but the story does not end great.
Yes, yeah, it was almost for a little bit of time. It was definitely kind of the pinnacle of representation in the streaming space. Obviously 2020 was crazy for a lot of reasons, but your kind of Phoenix Down rises from the ashes of what was the most prominent company in gaming, and you guys, you're a co-founder and the CEO of Phoenix Down. Tell us a little bit about the company.
Yeah, so when COVID started, like we realized that everybody that was like previously at OPG, like we didn't have jobs.
Yeah.
As a quarantine was starting,
Yep.
like, and everyone was panicking. We're like, what are we gonna do? And then on top of that, like all of these creators did not have a management team.
Yeah.
And I alluded to this earlier where I said, like, I just wait for opportunities to come to me, and I keep myself open and see if it's something that I can do. So a bunch of creators came to me and said, we want you to manage us. We want you to create a company. And so one group that really helped make this happen was Rare Drop.
Yes.
So Rare Drop is made of K-Magic, Darkness 429, and Professor Broman. Gathalion was with them at the time as well. They came to me and said, like, hey, whatever you need from us, we want to make this happen. We loved working with you and everyone else, and we want to like save that in some way.
Yeah.
And so that was like a really scary moment for me, because I have always worked hard, but I've always been like I don't know how to say it. Like, it's not like a commoner. Like, like in the totem pole of businesses, I'm just like the hard worker at the bottom.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden I had this opportunity to be a CEO, and like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Am I really as good as I think? Like, or is it just like I had a lot of imposter syndrome to go through.
For sure. Yeah.
But I thought to myself, like, you know what? Like, I think a great CEO would be someone who like doesn't really want the job.
Yeah.
Just someone that's going to put their head down and do the work. And so we did. We created Phoenix Down and decided that we were going to be a management company for a bunch of the streamers that we had worked with previously. And I knew that I couldn't do it alone. So I got Oliver, Zach, and Sarah from my team. And I said, like, hey, I don't know how we're going to do this, but if you're down, we can split the company 4 ways and we can all be owners. And so it was kind of, everyone was like, well, I don't know when the next chance of me owning a company is going to be.
Exactly.
And so we figured it out, and we have a management company. We also opened a secondary sister company, which is a talent agency.
Okay.
It's actually registered as a talent agent. So if we wanted to represent like Hollywood talent, we could.
That's cool.
And there's a lot of like restrictions on there for that sort of stuff. And yeah, we've grown our client base from about 25 to around 40 at the moment. And we have a bunch of other clients that are pending.
Yeah.
And I'm trying not to grow too quickly.
For sure.
Which is a good problem to have.
Yeah.
But we're definitely like, we've got our hands full. Things have been going great. The clients are making more money than they were previously.
That's awesome.
They're doing more sponsorships than it was previously, which is really weird and mind-blowing. But it's been going really good.
That's awesome. I love your mission statement too. It says, we at Fenix Down want to empower creators with confidence regarding their business affairs with a team they trust. We also feel that the gaming industry needs a change, more transparency, accountability, and minority representation and leadership is a positive step forward. Talk to us a little bit about why that mission statement is so important to you guys.
Yeah, I hear a lot of horror stories of creators who like have just really terrible contracts. Some creators where they're giving away like half of their money. A lot of like esports teams will give away like, you sign a contract where they give away like half of your money.
Mm-hmm.
Or there's some contracts where like you can't leave if you wanted. Like what if the team or company did something really bad and your contract says you can't leave until January 1st of every year, and even then you have to give 30 days notice. So if you miss that
little
then
window,
it just relapses or something. So that was one thing, was making sure that our contracts were really, really fair and that our commissions were very, very low. Transparency. I had also heard a lot of stories about management companies and talent agencies that like would push for high rates for sponsored work, which is great. But if that company or brand like couldn't do that rate, the creator would never know about it. So there's a lot of instances where there's a lot of streamers, content creators who, sometimes they are going to budge and they are going to take something for less amount.
right?
Or they might do something for free because it's a game or a cause that they really feel passionate about. Some people just want the work and the experience, like whether they're paid or not. So that way it's something on their resume and they can get paid the next time. There's a lot of agencies and management teams out there that don't tell their creators about those things. Those creators don't have access to their email inboxes, or like they don't have a record of everything that they're being pitched for. And so that's where the transparency comes in, is like all of our business dealings, everyone is CC'd. They get a copy of all of the conversations that are happening. They can see where all their payments are at any time. And so that way they just really have like a line of sight into the business, rather than just being like, I don't know what's happening. I haven't been paid and why am I not getting work, when really, like, I don't know, your managers aren't doing great. They want to hide it.
Well, that's good. I think that's important too, because like you said, there's like a game that is, oh, this is my favorite game. I love this game. I want to represent this game and do great things with this game. And well, you didn't meet our requirements, so we're not going to do it. I find that is a huge missed opportunity, especially for someone that's super passionate about that game. Spider Queen in chat. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that I didn't really touch on the diversity in the team leadership. but I have yet to see like a management company that is as diverse as us. We could definitely have a lot that we can do to make that better. But like when you go and you see these companies, you see the team and they all
Yeah.
look a specific certain way, and that's where it starts. If you don't have diversity inside of the ownership and the people who are shooting, making the shots and the calls,
Yeah.
then you aren't going to be able to do that alongside like the roster.
Yeah.
So that is something my roster, I will be the first one to say I don't think it's diverse enough. But I am actively working on that. Um, and it, I think it starts in the leadership, and so that way we can make that better along the way
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I
and
think
make everything.
the representation is super important, being able to see someone that looks like you, and hey, I connect, I can do this. And that makes me feel confident, seeing that. And,
Yeah.
obviously me as a white guy, it's not focused on me. It's outward, which is really important, I think about this all the time for like my nieces, like, the first time they saw, a female Armada athlete playing, and they were like, wait, I can do this too. Like, and that's such an important thing for people to see. So kudos
It
to you
is.
guys for doing that. Spider Queen in chat did ask a question here. It kind of ties into the whole conversation of what we're talking about. So it says, I don't know much about your company, but how would someone get representation in Phoenix Down if that was something they're going to? So the other question to combo that together would be, there's a lot of creators out there that are looking, maybe they're on the verge of needing representation from like a talent management company. What sort of steps do you recommend for people as they are getting to that point?
Yeah. So first off, if anybody wants to inquire about working with Phoenix Down or having us represent you, it's really easy. Like, we have a contact form on our website, which is phoenixdown.co. I think a lot of creators wait to like sort of be like scouted or approached or
Mm-hmm.
something. And as cool as that would be, like, I just don't have time for that.
Right.
um I'm so busy working on all the inbound stuff for the talent that we have. Like, unfortunately, finding new talent gets on the back burner.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of do have to advocate for yourself and find out who these companies are, and send them an email and say like, hey, can we have a meeting? Hey,
Yeah.
this is my information. Like, this is what I'm looking for. Um, we do have some guidelines for creators that we would want to take on. I would say that this industry has done a really good job of mixing up what management and what agents do. And so one thing that Phoenix Down has done is we've separated the two.
Yeah.
So we have a management contract, which means we handle everything that comes in for you. Anything inbound, like the management contract is for people that are established. They have so much work on their hands. They don't have time to answer their emails. All they want to do is like create content and stream, and they have
Right.
so much opportunity that they're like starting to say no to things because they just don't have the time.
Right.
Um, versus our agency contract is sort of for a smaller streamer that is saying, I have done a couple sponsored things before, but I really have a lot of opportunity to do more work. I want brands to know who I am. I want to work with games and companies, and I just need somebody out there that's
Yeah.
pitching my name, saying like, "Hey, I want a chance. I want to be in the room." And so Phoenix Down offers contracts for those two different things. Um, I think I've had my head down, so I don't know if anyone else is doing this now, but when we started it, we were the only ones doing it. Um, I would say that usually you want to start looking for management around the 400 CCV mark.
Mm-hmm.
And then you want to start looking for an agent at above the 100 CCV mark.
Okay.
If you're below that, I know it's probably like really appealing to work with brands, but what you want to be doing is figuring out your content, figuring out your community, and really growing that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because especially when you put brands into the mix, that can also like change your community. So you want to make sure that you focus on that and that you are like growing before you do like management or stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, so that's kind of like where everybody's different. So that's not like a hard and fast rule, but that's like my advice on it.
And I love the two kind of parallels that you have here with the management and the agency. I mean, I think that really kind of opens up some eyes for sure, knowing, hey, this is a total different representation over here in the management category, but we are pitching, to a ton of different brands and games and things like that. And this area for an agency sounds like that has a wider appeal for probably a lot more, content creators that are out there, right?
Mhm.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and just because you don't have a manager or an agent doesn't mean that you can't get help.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that maybe, people that are in the lower CCV range, like you probably should be outsourcing, people to make thumbnails or
Yeah.
people to like cut down your streams, or even like finding like a part-time community manager that can help like engage and create fun events and stuff like that. There are people out there that like work on a flat fee basis. So that will like, I don't know how strapped for cash people are,
Yeah.
but
Right.
usually when you're in that spot, you're like working really hard, like doing full-time work and then
Mm-hmm.
streaming on the side. So you might be able to invest in that. I know it's really rough
It
because I
is,
did it for a while.
yeah. We've all been there. It's
Yeah.
definitely hard, and there's some cool tools that are coming out, in now in the streaming space that are really kind of helping people, especially like there's a new program called Clipbot that like automatically posts your clips to TikTok and YouTube, and like there's just ways to be smart about how you're sharing your content on other platforms, which we've talked about a ton on the show, is just really how to kind of continue to grow your channel, grow your brand, do those things so that down the line you can, start to apply for the agency or the management track here at Fenix Down. For let's say that I'm one of your clients. What sort of things would I expect as quote talent on being represented by Fenix Down?
So for our agency clients, that really means that you get put on our roster, and so we like work with you to get like headshot, bio, all of your social media stats together, and we'll meet with you and say like, okay, what kind of sponsorships do you want to
Mm-hmm.
look for? And so we'll go reach out to those companies and try our best, and then report back. A lot of times it's like they didn't answer or they said no, but at least it's something, and then maybe like years down the line something will happen.
Mm-hmm.
Just the unfortunate fact is that a lot of brands are not ready to activate on Twitch right
Yeah.
now. And it's also a very, very highly technical thing to do. So like creating a Twitch program is like really hard.
Mm-hmm.
So that's primarily what the agency clients are. Our agency contract is non-exclusive. So if there's something that comes into your personal email, like, oh, I want to work with you don't have to involve us at all. Like you got
Okay.
that on your own.
Cool.
Um, the management is where things get like a little heavier in the workload that we're doing. So we would create an email address where all of your inbound opportunities come in. And then I'm the one that's sorting through the emails and I'm responding and I'm trying to figure out like, does this suck or not?
Right.
Is this legit or not?
Right.
So there's a lot of things that I have to figure out. I have to figure out like, okay, does this pay or is this an affiliate code? Or worse, like, is this just, do things for free? You don't get
Yeah.
anything. You
Yeah.
get exposure.
Here's a t-shirt.
Yeah. There's a lot of other things that I look for, like anything that could look bad
Yeah.
for you or your brand. So I get a lot of emails about NFTs and crypto
Yeah, I'm sure.
and ultimately it's the creator's decision. Like, I'm not going to say you can't do that or else you get kicked out of Phoenix Down.
Right.
But I will say, like, I highly suggest you do not do this. Like, there are a lot of concerns in this space right now.
Yep.
So we can't go there until they address these concerns. So a lot of it's that. A lot of it is just like just having another person to talk to and say, like, can you watch my stream and like make sure it doesn't suck?
Yeah.
What can I be doing to improve? So there's even like some emotional support that happens. And then we're there to like sort of talk people through things. Say, like, I know you're going through a rough spot right now, but like that's just the nature of the industry. Keep going. Like, I think your content's great. The bread and butter of what we do is sponsorships. So we will figure out what someone wants to do. We're going to figure out the obligations. So that means how long are you going to be streaming for a brand? How many hours? How many social posts do they want to do? Do they get usage rights? Like, are they able to take clips and put that on their own social media? Or can they like use advertising around it? So all of that negotiating and coming up with the rate and stuff is all on us. And then we also help you execute it. So we create briefs so that way it's very clear. You know what you need to do. We're putting it on your calendar. We're communicating this to the brand and everyone knows what they need to do. So that way none of it goes bad.
Yeah.
And then afterwards we follow up. We send reporting. We send the links. We send a thank you. Invoicing is tough. That's a really hard thing. So we take care of that for our creators. So that way the brands are paying us and then we pay our creators. And that's actually, like, side note, it's really great as a creator for tax purposes if you only have like one 1099 to deal with rather than 100 of them.
Absolutely.
So that's where we provide a lot of value too.
That's awesome.
That's pretty much what we do. There's a lot of other things that go to it. Like, I've had to call a hotel once and been like, hey, do you have a refrigerator? Because my client needs to like pump and freeze her breast milk, like, and we need a room for that. Or be like, is the room ADA accessible? I really need this sort of room.
Right.
So it could really entail anything.
I like that. And I think you mentioned a part about, just sometimes talking to your clients, letting them know, you mentioned before having imposter syndrome, and like, it sounds like even the people that are up at the top of the world in streaming and things like that, they feel the same way as most everybody else, and they're no different. Do. So that's kind of, a neat thing where, hey, we're all in this together, and we all go through the same things, and here's ways that we can work around that. That's great information. And to jump back to last episode that we had Big Cheese KIT on, and he talked about doing, a lot of people are really focused on like, oh, I want sponsorships. How do I get sponsorships? And they're not really at a point that they're ready for those yet. He talked about doing just, hey, I got a Stream Deck here. Here's a video and me reviewing it, and building that content and putting it out there for things that you're passionate about. And as those things grow and time goes on, you never know. You may be, partnered with Elgato in the future, So I think that's a good way to kind of start going down that path. Show brands that you can do the thing that they're going to ask you to do and eventually pay you to do, but just do them, and obviously, when you get to that point in your career that you're ready for representation, I think that we know who to call and and hit up. So we got a couple questions real quick as we end the show here. Something that we always ask everybody. As the industry grows, obviously here at Full Sail, we have more students that are looking to enter, the sector of gaming and esports and content creation after graduation. What sort of advice would you give them as they embark on these industries?
Advice. Before I get to advice, I would just like to send like a word of encouragement, because I did not have the bravery to really pursue gaming until I was around 27, 28. So it's never too late. Yeah. But I do sometimes wonder, like, what would have happened if I had just pursued this from the start? I don't think it's as stereotypical now because of like programs like what you guys do, which makes it like easy and accessible. But back when I was doing college, it was very much like you cannot have video games as your career. That's not going to
Yeah.
lead you anywhere. Like video games are for lazy people.
Yeah, go outside, you know.
Yeah. So it took me a lot of years to push past that and be like, you know what? I'm pretty sure I could do it. And I did. Um, so just a little word of encouragement, like I'm proud of you. And I think that chasing your passions is what you need to do in life. I'm glad that you're taking the reign now.
Yeah.
My advice would stem on just being a good person and working hard and valuing every single piece of work that you're doing. Um, that has always led me, like, whatever opportunity I had, I did a really good job, and I was always kind and nice to the people that I was working with, and that gave me my next opportunity. So I would just focus on that. I think that there's a lot of potential in this industry to have a lot of FOMO and be like, why am I not
Yeah.
already there? Or like, why am I not working with this brand? Or I want to work with this one. I would just like trust your journey. And I know that there's a lot of advice out there that says like be a go-getter and make things happen.
Mhm.
I'm the example of the person that sits back and analyzes and just like I watch a lot of things that will help me grow. So learn as much as you can about anything that's related from business to invoicing to video games. Learn as much as possible, and if you're someone like me, work hard, be smart, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
You'll find a way, you'll find your path.
Yeah. I like that. Where do you see the future of, content creation in the next 5 years? Obviously, you're very in tune with creators. What do you think that's going to look like as time moves on?
Um, I don't know if this is okay to say because we're on Twitch, but I think that we're going to see the rise of other platforms beyond Twitch unless
Mhm.
something changes very soon.
Yep.
So if I was a creator, I know you've heard it a million times, but you need to get on TikTok immediately, because that is where live streaming is going to go. Just be really sure. We've been preaching for forever, like diversify your content.
Yep.
What that means is like wasn't it the CEO of Twitch himself who said recently, like,
Bennett, yep.
no one's gonna find you on Twitch, you need to be
Yep.
on YouTube?
Yep.
So, the old guard method of advice was, like, always be streaming,
Yeah.
stream, like, 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week.
Yep.
If I were to take streaming seriously right now, I would, maybe have 2 days of live shows, and I would be consistent on the day and time when they are, and I would spend all the rest of my days creating different content, that supported those streams. So,
That's a great
clips
strategy.
are great. Twitch clips are great for the people to reward the people that are in your streams, but they don't perform as well as like advice content or
Mhm.
organic content. As far as content creation as a whole, I think we're going to see that production quality does not matter as much as authenticity. Um, with the rise of TikTok, like a lot of it is just I'm gonna grab my phone and I'm gonna make something and then I'm gonna post it.
Yep.
Um, so it's really good because you won't have to have all these fancy hardware. But a lot of the people that think that they have it set because they have all of this, um, are going to be
Yeah.
surprised, I think, because especially coming out of the pandemic, what people want is they want community and they want to connect with people and they want your content to feel like I'm on a FaceTime call with you and we're just chatting. So I would worry less about polish and more about commentary and involving your community and connection.
That's probably some of the best advice we've heard on the show to date. No joke. Like you were 100% accurate in that, especially if you've been on TikTok for a while and you've been watching it, you see that. people want to be involved. They want to be connected in that. And you don't have to have $1 million camera or, you know, a set behind you to do anything. You just you and like 3 different versions of you, you know, and there millions of views. So definitely lean into that creativity, right? Lean into, you know, going for it, which is the best part. Awesome. Well, Janessa, thank you so much for being on the show. Tell everyone where they can find you. How do they get in touch with you? Any other things that you want to shout out? Feel free to do that.
For sure. Thank you for having me. You can find me on Twitch and Twitter and Instagram and TikTok at Pods of War. And then if you want to see my streams, I do stream D&D every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific at twitch.tv/castersandcastles. If you wanted to work with Fenix Down, or if you have any question at all, you can use the contact form at phoenixdown.co, and that's spelled like the translation error from Final Fantasy VI. So it is FENIXDOWN.co.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here, and we will be back on August 11th with another episode. Until then, we will see you later. Thanks for hanging out.